Seeing as I did one for the Vampire Diaries, you know I was definitely going to do one for the originals. And don't get me wrong, the originals is a very, very well written show. In fact, it's a great show overall. However, even though the writing is quite good, there are a lot of plot inconsistencies, especially when you compare it with things that we already learned from the Vampire Diaries, ranging from power inconsistency, the timeline being ridiculously bad, and more events that we know definitely didn't happen. So join me as I go through 10 plot holes in the originals.
Get her down on the floor.
We should take her to the city of the dead.
We won't make it. Baby is coming now. No, it's too soon. Apparently not.
The plan was to induce her when the sacrifice was ready.
I had to subdue her, and the trauma caused a placental abruption. So the baby is coming, and we'll just have to adapt. Let me go! You need to be calm.
I'm surprised I didn't actually mention anything when it comes to timeline inconsistencies in the Vampire Diaries, but with the originals I definitely have to because it will revolve around Hope's birth. The length of time that it took for Hope to be conceived and Hope to be born is literally impossible. We know 100% for sure that Hope was born in May. Michael was on the other side and he became tangible just before Davina resurrected him. And we know that only happened like a day or so before the other side actually fell, which we saw in season 5 episode 20 when Sheila bumped into a lamp. And we know for sure that the time jump between the end of season 5, as in the season finale when the other side actually fell, and the start of season 6 is 4 months. And season 6 started in September.
You know, this will never not be weird.
What? Did some ancient witch turn me into a vampire, or that 4 months ago I rose from the dead?
That you're my college professor.
Meaning that Hope has to be born in May. This creates a massive problem timeline-wise because Hope was conceived in season 4 episode 16 of the Vampire Diaries, which occurred before the season finale of season 4. And the season 4 finale occurred in June based on the fact that Silas told Stefan that he's been drowning for 3 months all throughout summer. This means that Hope should have been conceived in August, meaning that if the season finale was in June and we know that the season finale occurred on the full moon, as in the day of the full moon, and if it's in June, that would mean that it would have been June 15th. And we calculate backwards based on the time that Hailey would have likely been pregnant. She would have been pregnant around 3 weeks before, if not for longer. Meaning that Hailey would have been pregnant since May. And Hope was born in May. Meaning that Hailey was pregnant for a whole year. And Hope was still somehow born early.
I haven't seen this in a century.
So, you're the little boy who used to live in my house.
Once upon a time, I lived here with your dad.
He keeps you down here because he thinks you want to kill him. Do you?
Listen, I will tell you anything you want to know, okay? If you get me some blood from your dad's stash.
I'm 7, not stupid.
We have yet another timeline inconsistency. This one is sort of a small one, although it again affects Hope. Basically, we know that season 4 occurred, as in the start of season 4, occurred exactly 5 years after the end of season 3. Seeing as season 4 episode 1 was explicitly stated as being the anniversary of when the Mikaelsons actually fell. And Hope was stated to be 7 years old, as she was 2 years old in season 3 based on what Hailey said. And then now we have season 5 in which there was another time jump, but this time instead of 5 years, it is now 7 years. Meaning that Hope should be 14, not 15. 7 plus 7 equals 14.
Never should have got in the way of your happiness, Rebekah.
You don't have to apologize.
Well, then let me make it up to you. I've asked Caroline to get you the cure. In a handful of decades, when it's time, you can go to Mystic Falls and get it. Then if you no longer wish to be a vampire, it's your choice. Live the life you've always wanted to live. My sister.
Thank you.
This one is less of a plot hole, more of something that could easily ruin Rebekah's life, which revolves around the cure, and whether or not Rebekah could even get it in the first place. Obviously, as we know, Klaus told Rebekah that she can actually get the cure when it's the right time to actually get it, implying that Damon needs to be ready to die in order for Rebekah to actually get the cure, because obviously if you remove the cure from Damon, he ages rapidly and will quickly die. Obviously, Damon needs to be ready to die for him to actually let that happen. and Klaus would have gotten this information from Caroline. However, did Caroline forget to mention the fact that the person that currently has the cure in their system, if they actually die, the cure automatically gets destroyed? Meaning that if Damon randomly get hit by a car, the cure is gone. So Damon can't die before that. If Damon dies, the cure automatically is destroyed. And no vampire blood can heal him. Meaning that if Damon dies immediately before they actually extract the cure from his system, then Rebekah doesn't actually get the cure.
Lucian had to die. He would have destroyed us all.
Yeah, thanks to his vendetta against you.
His motive is not the issue. He was a threat. We responded in kind. Had Freya the power to kill Lucian and save Davina, she would have.
Am I supposed to just nod and accept that? We share a bourbon and I just shrug it off.
Davina had to die. What a shame. But there was no other choice.
It wasn't.
It amazes me that neither Klaus or Elijah actually mentioned anything about the cure throughout the entirety of season 3. Even though the cure would have solved all of their problems and most of the things that happened throughout season 3 wouldn't have actually happened. Cammy would have been alive, Lucian would have been defeated, and Davina would have very likely been resurrected. When Cammy was bitten by Lucian, all Klaus had to do was just call Stefan or call Caroline. During this time period, it was currently season 7 of the Vampire Diaries, meaning that Elena currently had the cure in her system. They were currently moving Elena's body constantly because they were trying to keep her safe from anyone that was actually trying to get the cure from her. All Klaus had to do was ask Stefan or ask Caroline for the cure, and they would just get it from Elena, who would be fine because she is only in her 20s, and then they would just take it, give it to Cammy, who would also be fine because she is also in her 20s, meaning that you can extract it from her and then just use it on Lucian. Problem solved. Obviously, the big problem is the fact that whether or not Caroline or Stefan would even give them the cure. But Klaus could just tell him that I did kind of help Stefan even though I didn't really have to. And they might be able to actually work out a deal. And it would have also helped Elena greatly because seeing as the cure is no longer in her system, there would be less threats to her life.
What you might think, Cole. I did mourn you after your death. And I did attempt to avenge you. I would do nothing less because we are brothers. Always and forever.
That is a lie. Klaus didn't avenge crap. The only thing that he did after Cole died was attack Caroline. That's it. He beat Caroline and then about a day or so afterwards, he immediately cured her. That might be somebody avenging you if it was anyone other than Klaus. When Klaus said I avenge you, I'm expecting cities burning. Or at least killing the people that were actually responsible, which he didn't. He didn't kill the person that actually killed Cole, Jeremy, and he didn't kill the person that actually planned and instigated the plan to actually take out Cole for her own benefit, Elena. Elena was perfectly fine until season 6, and she only went down for something that had nothing to do with Klaus. So Klaus didn't avenge crap, and Klaus can't even lie to Cole about it, because Cole should know because he was on the other side. He will be able to actually see what Klaus is doing. He saw Elena still alive. How exactly is that avenging anyone? Jeremy died to something that had nothing to do with Klaus.
One powered by her own death. Curse upon all present that night. She bound them to the full moon, so that once a month they would turn into the very beast they used to hunt her.
The werewolf curse.
Now, werewolves existing isn't necessarily the plot hole. The plot hole is exactly how they were actually created. The way that werewolves were created will create a bit of a plot hole that is in reference to the Vampire Diaries, which is expected because the plot hole is in reference to something that occurred in season 5 and also partly in season 6, which was long after the originals had already split from the Vampire Diaries. What I'm referring to is the fact that the Hollow created werewolves using very obviously dark magic. It will automatically make werewolves unnatural and abominations like vampires in regards to how nature views it. Meaning that the anti-magic barrier shouldn't have only stripped Tyler of his vampire side when he was a hybrid, it should have also stripped him away from his werewolf side. The only thing that's keeping the curse going is magic. Yes, I know the anti-magic barrier did revert him to being an untriggered werewolf, but the fact that he was still a werewolf shouldn't have been possible. because the curse is made through magic, a very dark version of magic from one of the most darkest magic practitioners of all time.
Hope's taking the power from us! There's no stopping it!
It's too late.
Initially, I thought that the Hollow was completely subdued and it was just a magical essence that still reside in the Mikaelsons, meaning that the Hollow in all intents and purpose should be dead. But after rewatching season 4, it turns out she was very much alive and still could operate the same way.
What are you talking about?
Haley, the Hollow has felt your little girl's power. And it's gonna want to get that power back. And when we finish this ritual, the Hollow is gonna live inside of the Mikaelsons. Through them, it's gonna reach out, and it's gonna try to regain access to your little girl. That can never happen, and anytime they are anywhere near her, she is not gonna be safe, ever.
Yes, of course, she wouldn't be as powerful when her spirit was split into 4, and it was housed inside of 4 originals. But when Hope poured all of it back into herself, Hope, a very mortal witch, yes, eventually she became a were-witch, but she was still very mortal. Why exactly was it that the Hollow was only harming Hope, but she still didn't actually try at any point to take over Hope's body? All the Hollow needs was for Hope's mind to be weak enough for her to take over. That's what she did in season 4, and in season 5, she didn't do that once. Hope literally died in season 5, although temporarily, she was still dead enough to actually go to peace or limbo or wherever Haley was. So why didn't the Hollow take over Hope then? Hope being unconscious in season 4 was enough for the Hollow to actually take over then, but she couldn't do that in season 5 for some reason.
I've not lived an honorable life. You know that. But doing this, taking the darkness into myself so no one else is afflicted by it, that is an honorable death, and I can do that. I can do it. Hope. Because you've helped me feel something that I never thought was possible. Unconditional love.
I know this is probably one of the first things that actually pop into your mind when you actually see any post or any video about plot holes in the originals, mainly because it resulted in the deaths of Elijah and Klaus. Now, in terms of Elijah killing Klaus automatically killing the Hollow as well, there was technically an explanation which the writers actually made, which was that vessel death automatically kills the Hollow, which is why Klaus taking himself out would have killed the Hollow as well, which creates more questions than he actually answers. The first one being, why didn't anyone do that before? Just grab a vampire and just stuff the Hollow into them and then just kill them. Now you might say that the Hollow might just take over the host's body, but the Hollow didn't do that with Hope. Now you might say that Klaus was trying to change his image and not actually do anything very evil so that people don't actually start to hate him again. But there were actually vampires that Klaus would have done it to and nobody would have cared. In fact, people would have been like perfectly fine with it. Like Greta's vampires, when Hope took them out, Marcel could have just blitzed one of them, grab them, take them out, and then just let Hope destroy the rest of them. And then just transfer the Hollow into that person and then just kill them. Also, how exactly was Elijah able to kill Klaus? Elijah wasn't part of the Hollow's bloodline. I think the writer said the reason why Elijah was able to kill Klaus was because Elijah was part of Hope's bloodline. But that would imply that the Hollow takes on the bloodline of whoever she possesses. But that makes no sense as to why Haley was able to damage the Hollow when she was in Sophia. Sophia isn't part of the Labanais bloodline, so how exactly was Haley still able to damage her?
I don't intend to drown it.
What is that?
This is the last remaining white oak stake. And the power is in me. There's only one way to make sure it's gone for good. Someone needs to kill me.
Seeing as I just talked about the death of the Hollow, Klaus and Elijah, I feel the need to actually mention how exactly they died. Which is of course the white oak stake. Where in God's name did Klaus get that from? The show does give a bit of an explanation for it, but that doesn't undo stuff that happened in season 3. In season 3, we saw the Strakes trying their absolute hardest to actually find the last remaining white oak stake, or the last remnants of the white oak tree. And all of those vampires and networks and a whole coven of witches, very powerful witches, none of them found the white oak stake. And it was just hidden. It wasn't even cloaked. And if it was cloaked, who exactly cloaked it? It can't be Bonnie because Bonnie would have told her friends that, oh, there's actually one more wild steak. And even if she somehow did and never mentioned it again, this is season 3 Bonnie. There was no way that at that point in time that Bonnie was actually powerful enough to cast a cloaking spell or a barrier spell that an entire coven of really powerful witches can't break through, especially the sisters.
May you rest in peace.
What's the fun in that? Come along. We have much to do.
Yes, Mother.
The rules surrounding body jumping in the originals kind of disregard the rules that was already set in the Vampire Diaries, and in fact even disregards rules that we actually discovered later on in the show. In the Vampire Diaries, we discovered that when a being actually jumps into another person's body, they still exhibit certain abilities. For example, when Klaus took over Alaric's body, although he was only as strong as Alaric and was only as fast as Alaric, he still had his compulsion ability, as he was able to compel vampires. We even saw Esther, when she took over Rebekah's body, was able to walk through an anti-vampire barrier that should have stopped Rebekah, but it didn't stop Esther because Esther was a witch. However, those rules just did not apply in the originals, specifically season 2, because Finn and Cole didn't have the compulsion abilities when they took over a witch's body, and neither did Rebekah. And this isn't even just a separate continuity problem between the Vampire Diaries and the originals, because in the originals, we saw that the Hollow, in season 4, was able to still use a vampire's ability after she took over Sophia's body, which goes in line with the pre-established lore that occurred in the Vampire Diaries. But anyway, seeing as I did one for the Vampire Diaries and the originals, I'm definitely going to have to do one for Legacies. And the plot holes on that show is worse than both the Vampire Diaries and the originals combined. It should be out in about a week, but if you manage to hit the like goal of 250, then I would have it done by Tuesday.